your ad. You're Mr. Lee? Say, you can make a mint on me.
What do you do?
Dance, sing.
Play a role?
Anything. See, I come from a long line of traders. I'm descended from one of the kings of Ireland, Dermot MacMurrough, who sold out to the Brits and caused his countrymen 800 years of misery. My pop traded with Hitler. My poppy was an assassin who sold arms to the Ayatollah during the hostage crisis. I'm not that bright, so I only got into Yale as a legacy. There I joined Skull and Bones, where I masturbated in coffins and played with the skull of Geronimo, which was stolen from its grave by my pop and his friend Neil, whom my brother is named after. Though I supported the Vietnam War, I didn't fight it. Through my poppy's connections, I was able to dodge the draft by leapfrogging over the people ahead of me and getting into the Texas Air National Guard. Later, I transferred to the Alabama Air National Guard and eventually stopped going altogether. I was a boozing, dope-smoking, coke-addled playboy with an arrest record for drunken driving in Maine and a sealed criminal record in Texas. I ran 5 businesses. Right into the fucking ground. Then somebody gave me 2% of the Texas Rangers Ball Club just so they could put my name on the stationery. I managed to parlay that into election to the governorship of Texas, where I killed 93 convicts and drove the state to near bankruptcy. In 2000, I ran for the Republican nomination for the presidency and beat out my more qualified opponent, John McCain, by telling voters in North Carolina that he had a nigger baby. In the general election, I lost the popular vote, but won by a cunt hair in the Electoral College by filing a lawsuit to stop the recount in Florida, which I had no legal standing to do. Fortunately, this didn't matter to the Supreme Court, which had been stacked by my poppy and his boss, Ronald Reagan. In my first 8 months as president, I took more vacation than Clinton did in 8 years. I ignored reports that Osama bin Laden was going to attack our country with hijacked jetliners that summer. When the attacks came, I used the fears of the American people and my unprecedented political capital to push through Congress the Patriot Act, which allowed me to spy on terrorist groups like PETA, Greenpeace, the Catholic Workers of America, and vegetarians. I also invaded Afghanistan with the support of the entire civilized world. The invasion went well, but when I had Osama surrounded in the mountains, I subbed out the job of capturing him to Afghan warlords, previously our enemies, who predictably botched the job. That's because my real agenda was always to invade Iraq. I got Congress to agree by showing them faked intelligence reports. The UN wasn't fooled, but I went ahead and invaded anyway, losing all my credibility with the civilized world. We won the war in Iraq, but we're losing the peace, as guerrillas have killed over 3,000 of our soldiers so far. What was a secular state has become a hotbed of Muslim fanaticism, the very thing I was allegedly trying to stop. And though we captured Saddam, he turned his own trial into a circus and his execution into a martyrdom. George Tenet, the director of the CIA, falsified the intelligence reports. Paul Bremer, who ran occupied Iraq, also screwed the pooch. I gave them both Presidential Medals of Freedom. Paul Wolfowitz, the architect of my Iraq policy, was rewarded with a job as director of the World Bank. He had to resign when they found out he gave special favors to his Saudi girlfriend there. Despite my record, in 2004 I ran for re-election and incredibly stole another election. It all came down to Ohio, which Wally Odell had promised to deliver to me. He just happens to be CEO of Diebold, which makes Ohio's voting machines, which leave no paper trail. I interpreted my cunt-hair thin margin of victory as a mandate from the people and continued my policy of waging unwinnable wars, running up a huge debt, spying on the American people, giving tax breaks to the rich, driving up oil prices, trampling on the rights of women and minorities, and appointing right-wing nutjobs to the Supreme Court whose impact will be felt for decades. My Veep, appropriately named Dick, is a Republican political party hack and unsuccessful President Halliburton. He's actually gotten into more business during this administration than when he ran the company. He toes the Republican line in all things except gay marriage because his daughter is a carpet muncher, much like his wife, who writes lesbo porn. I appointed him to find me a running mate in 2000, and he appointed himself. Nowadays claiming he's not even a member of the executive branch. He is slicker than goose shit on a brass doorknob. Dick's chief of staff, Scooter Libby, blew the cover of a CIA agent and everybody she ever worked with. He was convicted of perjury and sent to prison, but I commuted his sentence. My Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales, fired a bunch of U.S. attorneys we didn't like and replaced them with Republican political party hacks and lied about it. Now Congress is investigating, but I'm claiming executive privilege. I won't even let ex-staffers testify. When Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast, at first I didn't even cut my vacation short. Although the FEMA director, Michael Brown, had no qualifications for the job and basically just modeled his clothes for the TV cameras, I told him he was doing a heck of a job. I did cut my vacation short once when my retarded brother, Florida Governor Jeb, was trying to keep Terry Schiavo, a brain-dead woman, hooked up to a feeding tube against what would obviously be her wishes. My catastrophic foreign and domestic policies finally cost the GOP control of the House and the Senate in the midterm elections, but I don't give a rat's ass. If the Democratic Congress passes a law I don't like, I just issue a signing statement saying I'm gonna ignore it. That's some act, huh? What do you call it? The aristocrats!